Hi, this is Brooke Medicine Eagle. I'm here with Returning to Earth, Becoming Fully Human. This is a dynamic forum of wisdom keepers, healers, teachers, elders, and leaders whose focus is really to give you real, workable, sustainable solutions to the issues that you very likely have now, and certainly we have as a planetary family. And I'm really joyful today to have Robin Youngblood with me. Robin is an Okanagan Cherokee. She's a minister, teacher, author, artist, and shamanic practitioner, healer, who has been a student of her heritage for many, many years. She has learned the sacred teachings of indigenous elders from her own Native American tribes, along with Siberian, Polynesian, African, and Aboriginal elders. Since 2012, Robin has circumnavigated the earth 4 times, sharing teachings and ceremonies. She's been a member of the Seven Generations World Wisdom Council, which organized multicultural wisdom gatherings in several countries, a founding member of Grandmothers Circle the Earth, and was a traveling ambassador from 2009 to 18, helping establish those grandmother circles and councils wherever she traveled. Currently, she's a board member of Sacred Earth Council, an organization dedicated to honoring the sacred in all beings, helping to heal global trauma and systemic racism, and to build sustainable systems in developing nations in order to restore balance and co-create a better world. Well, that's really inspirational and wonderful, Robin. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke. It's so wonderful to see your face because it's been such a long time since we've been able to be face to face. We're always traveling different parts of the globe at the same time.
I know. Well, I actually caught up with you a tiny bit this year. I didn't even plan on it, but I circumnavigated the globe this year, became a full Gaian citizen, and that was really a joy to be with and see people all around the earth. And I know you've done so many wonderful things. Can you give us a little sense of like kind of where you came from and how you got started in all this from your wonderful background? And then I'm interested in what you're passionate about and what you think can really be helpful to people these days.
Sure. Oh, geez. To encapsulate all that in one little bit, how do I do that? Um,
Mm.
I was raised to be a good little Catholic white girl because I'm a mixed blood, and my mom was terrified that I would be prejudiced against, biased as I grew up if I admitted to being Indian. It never worked. I always ran with the Indian kids, right? And the minute I became an adult, I went home to the res and practically begged for teachings. At the beginning, they really wouldn't give me much because I looked very white. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, one of the aunties said, "Oh, I know who you are. You look like Auntie Pauline." Well, I should have. She's my aunt. So from that point on, they opened the gates to me, and I have been really blessed to receive many, many teachings and given the right to do many different ceremonies, which is what I do when I travel the world. Um, in 2014, I was in an incredible mudslide in Washington, killed 43 people. I survived. I have no idea how, except it had to be great mystery. And after that, I received a vision and heard Mother Earth telling me that I needed to be a bigger voice for her. And in the vision, I was given a dance called Dance to Heal the Earth. It's a little bit similar to a sun dance in that it's a circle dance and we dance to the tree of life. Other than that, it's very different because we use a particular medicine wheel. We are dancing for our own healing, as we must heal ourselves if we're going to heal Mother Earth. And of course, Mother will heal herself even if she kicks us off her back. But I prefer that that doesn't happen. And I'm pretty sure we all would. Yeah. I have children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. I want them to live happy, healthy lives. So I'm very passionate about that. As you know, the first book that I put out that you endorsed was Path of the White Wolf, and was a way of using the medicine wheel as a compass for our lives. Sandy and I are writing another book right now, which is going to be called, or at least the working title is Journey with the White Bear. And that book is absolutely cogent. It's all the things that we see and have learned over the years that can help us in this time.
Right.
I just posted on Facebook this morning one of Floyd Red Crow Westerman's talks
Mhm.
that was given in the 80s and
Wow.
yet is so pertinent to today, because he talks about how we've treated Mother Earth and what we can and should be doing to alleviate all that's happened here. And he also talks about this is the time of purification. And I think that many people now have heard the Hopi prophecy and many of the other prophecies, indigenous prophecies, which all say that this is a time of purification. Purification doesn't mean ending as such, like that's it, we're done. It means that the things that haven't worked need to be cleared out. Yeah. And what I'm experiencing right now, and I've done this work on myself a lot, but I'm seeing that everybody has multi-generational trauma.
Mhm.
You know, I used to think that it was mostly us and other colored people of whichever nation, indigenous people, because the colonization had done so much to us. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now I'm beginning to see that the colonizers were colonized too. Yeah. That this goes clear back to the beginning of patriarchy and when Rome first colonized people and so forth.
Oh,
And
yeah.
everybody is suffering from PTSD, multi-generational trauma. Yeah. So a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is to help heal that. I do a lot of, well, in Europe, it's called family constellation work, and it's done in a particular way. I do something very similar, but I do it in the medicine wheel. When we do it in the medicine wheel, it is ceremony. Our ancestors, our guides, our helpers are all right there. And the things that are revealed and healed, wow, they're profound. Yeah. And I don't want to go through how all that happens right now, except to say that when we know where our ancestors are, what direction in the compass of life that they are, in other words, do they relate to new beginnings for us? Are they part of our life passion and purpose? Do they have ancestral gifts that they want to activate in our DNA? Is there healing that's needed? All those things. When we understand where they are and what they want, then we can begin to make movement in our own lives, because all of their actions and reactions from the traumas that they experienced are embedded in our DNA.
Mhm.
The science of epigenetics has shown that we have those markers. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. When I went through the mudslide, I didn't realize this until probably 6 months afterwards, but I went through fight, flight, freeze, and fold all in the space of minutes. Yeah. Now, I have great grandparents that walk the trail of tears. My grandfather was a warrior. He wanted to fight. You couldn't fight. There were too many soldiers around. Yeah. So he froze. He said, okay, I'm a deer in the headlights. I have to take care of this family. We'll just do what they say. Okay. My great grandmother wanted to flee. They couldn't, they were surrounded.
Mhm.
She had to take care of the children. She immediately went into fold. Okay, whatever you say. Some people call fold fawn. So she did that too. I will make up to you and suck up to you, whatever way I have to make it so that we can all survive. Right. Well, I have all four of those markers. So something traumatic happens in my life, and boom, I go through all those reactions. And they're so quick, at least they were until the mudslide, that I don't even recognize what's happening in me, right? Because the mudslide happened, and that was the gift that came out of it. Everything that's awful and terrible has a gift on the other side. Yeah. So the gift that came out of it was to begin to really recognize and take apart those reactions and do the work to change them so that I don't have to react those ways anymore. It becomes a conscious choice how I'm going to act. Yeah. I think we all need that right now because, you know, if you've been watching the whole thing with the elections and the sides that people have taken and the conspiracy theories and the this and the that and the other thing,
Yeah.
everybody's been reacting. Very few people have been able to just act. So now it's a time when we need to heal all that. If we're ever going to find ways to change systemic racism, endemic poverty, do sustainable and renewable resources, yeah, we have to heal ourselves first. It can't happen if we don't. And you and I know, and a whole lot of others really want this to happen now. It's time. So thank you.
And you feel like these ceremonial ways are a really powerful way to do this. Do you do individual healing as well with this kind of thing? I know you, the family constellation work, in case people don't know about it, is working with the whole sense of the family, and that a concept that I think is really powerful and important, which is that healing, even by the nature of the word, is something about wholeness. And so healing doesn't take place as an individual. You know, we might be able to fix a little something in ourselves, but really the healing is to heal and become whole and integrated with everything around us and deep in time. You know, I love that the science of epigenetics has come forward to help us see the reality. Sometimes it takes science talking about these things, connecting with what our ancestors have been telling us for a long time, to help people wake up to that. That we need to heal the whole circle. We need to mend the hoop. You know, wonderful Black Elk and the Lakota medicine man in his older days said the hoop is broken, and we need to mend that hoop again and put back together, integrate and clear away, I think, and then integrate back into the hoop of life that is the real power and beauty of our lives.
You know, it's so interesting. I've been rereading Black Elk's first vision of the sacred tree and then Crazy Horses. And of course, Black Elk, by the time that he died, his vision had not been fulfilled, and he was very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The vision wasn't fulfilled in Crazy Horses' lifetime either. As a matter of fact, he was killed by a bayonet. from the soldiers, yeah? But the two visions, what they saw was people of all nations dancing under the tree of life, yeah?
Yeah, it gives me chills.
The tree of life can be a physical tree, like we dance to and dance to heal the earth, or the sun dance, but it's more than that, yeah? The tree of life, if you look at our interior systems, we have our own tree of life in our nerves and our blood veins and arteries and so forth. It is about being rooted and grounded, having our arms open to the heavens to receive,
Mhm,
and being very strong in our core,
mhm.
and in our heart. We are all out of balance. I can't say I know a single person who is completely in balance all the time. Yeah. But we can get so much closer than we have been. And if we can really see ourselves as like that tree, yeah, and really ground ourselves. Dancing is very grounding. You and I both know this. Walking barefoot on the earth is really grounding.
Mhm.
Feeling not only the ground beneath us, but the hummus in the forest and the stone people and all the little critters that live under the ground. That gives us a real sense of being earth beings. And I think that we've disconnected ourselves so much from nature that for a lot of people, especially if they live in concrete cities and all that kind of thing, I've actually had people tell me they were terrified of going into the country. And for me, that's, ah, it just hurts.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm very close to nature. When we reconnect with nature, we're reconnecting with life. So I'm hoping that through all the things that you're sharing with all the different people here that you're talking with, that this is one of the major things that really embeds itself in people's minds and hearts,
You
that we
know,
have to be grounded.
I just
Go
had
ahead.
an interesting thought. Um, in the old days, certainly with our moccasined feet, and then with leather shoes with leather soles, those things allowed us, even if we were in shoes, to be more grounded. And I just was having this thought, kind of this like, oh my gosh, about the fact that all of our soles now are made out of petroleum products and artificial things that block the energy of the earth. And with all of the pandemic and the things that are going on, one of the things that I hope we can pay attention to, yes, we need to deal with a virus. And that to me is telling us that we are weakened, that we are not healthy, because if we're healthy, those things don't affect us so much. And so one of the ways that we're not healthy is that we're not in contact with the earth. And more scientists are showing us how vitally important it is to actually have that earth vibration coming into our body, that it triggers things that, the Mother Earth set this thing up pretty well. And all of that interplay, that interdependence, that interconnection. Someone was talking to me about getting your hands in the soil and working with the microbes and eating the things you grow that might even have a little dirt on them, and that the coding, there's a kind of coding that comes with the seasons, with the soil, with the air, with the sunshine, that we're in a sense more we receive more from the sun than we think we do. We're not really like plants so much, but we literally receive coding and information from all the things around us. And so it's kind of fascinating to me to think, golly, in the last, I don't know what would have been 10 years, maybe, most everyone has been cut off from the earth. So we're cut off from a kind of intelligence that keeps us well and healthy and moving with the power and beauty of all our relations. And so more and more and more, we're getting, we're weaker and weaker and less healthy. And so, I hope that our government officials and those who are trying to help us, heal and do what we need to do, can look at a larger picture here, because just because we're going to handle one virus is absolutely not going to answer what needs to happen. Good food, fresh air, clean water, no pesticides, some of those things will actually bring us to health, where finding some cure for one kind of flu or something is really not where we need to go, I don't think.
I agree. I occasionally on Facebook, I do these talking circle things and kind of bring up a subject for people to talk about. So probably a year and a half ago, I wrote one about how this all started, when it got started, right? And of course, it was started way back in Europe with mining and putting the children in the mines for coal and so forth to stay warm. Okay. Well, then here in the States, that was true too with the coal miners in Appalachia and so forth. And then World War II came and they developed this thing called glyphosate, which actually was a nerve agent, the basis of Agent Orange. My children's father was a Vietnam vet who died eventually of Agent Orange, okay? We've had glyphosate in all our food for 50, 60 years now. Yeah. No wonder our cells are damaged.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've added all these other modern technologies, conveniences, medicines, etc. Most of our medicines were originally plant medicines that have now been synthesized. That gives it an entirely different energy. I think it's probably still a living energy in some way because it's still connected to the plants, but it's also got all this additional synthetic stuff in it that isn't healthy for us, that isn't alive and keeping us going. Yeah. So it seems to me like, and look at how quickly the world has speeded up just in the 30 or 40 years you and I have been out there doing stuff. Yeah. When we were young, it was still pretty laid back. Now everybody's running every second of the day until COVID. And, I started out by saying that whatever something terrible happens, there's also a gift in it. Well, the gift of this time is people get to stay home. They can work from home. Most of their employers are telling them, do work from home. We've cut out 90% of the pollution within 2 or 3 weeks when we stopped driving. Yeah. The animals have been coming back to natural habitats that they haven't come to for years because it's been ruined by humanity. Okay. People are getting to know their children again. When you have to leave the house at 6 o'clock in the morning to get the kids off to school and get yourself to work, and you come home by 6 o'clock at night and eat dinner and send the kids to bed, you really don't get to know them. And family is the first thing for Native people, for indigenous people all around the world, so we've lost a tremendous amount in this last 50 or 60 years. And I think that we all know it deep, deep inside, even though we may not make it ourselves aware of the knowing. We all carry such deep grief because we know how we've harmed the earth and that it's harming us too. My work is about recognizing the shadow side of ourselves, not to condemn ourselves or judge ourselves, but to embrace that, love it, love the wounds within ourselves until we can heal them. Yeah. And when we heal them, that's when we realize that it's not just about us, it's about everything that lives, and everything does live. Yeah. So, how do we bring that back into balance? When we're in balance, things around us start being in balance too. I think if we really focus on that individually, we will see the results. The change will automatically begin to happen. And we'll see what we need to do in the middle of that.
You were talking about dancing around the tree of life, and a thought, an image came to mind, that that tree of life is the whole of everything. Everything sits on the branches of that great tree, and we seem to be up at the top of that. We're kind of the Johnny come latelys. We're the new little sprout up there at the top, and some people have a kind of arrogance about that. Well, we're on top, kind of the hierarchical, patriarchal, the one on the top, like right behind me, the symbol right there is that one right on the top. And we think that we're so wonderful. But in fact, even that image right behind me shows that what if you knock out some of those blocks below? That one that thinks they're so special on top is really dependent on every single little tiny block in the tree of life below. And so to dance around a tree, to have that image of the tree of life, I think is really wonderful, because it reminds us how yes, we have tremendous influence. That's one of the things about being where we are and who we are, is that our consciousness can really, these little hands, we can get in ourselves in all kinds of trouble and change and hurt and damage and think we're fixing and making things. But we have a tremendous amount of influence on things. So we need to pay attention to that, because what we do really affects everything. And at the same time, we need to realize that, when there are no more bees, when there are no more butterflies, the birds are gone. And then when the birds are gone, on and on, it just starts working right up that pyramid. And pretty soon the whole thing collapses. So to really be an honoring and loving relationship with that whole tree of life, all our relations, as our Native American ancestors and family talk about, that it's not just a spiritual thing, although it is. It's a practical, I've always been about what I call practical spirituality. It's like, yes, it's absolutely amazing to honor and respect the spirit of everything. And it's the most practical thing we can do, is to step fully into that, the dance of life that is the dance with everyone. That's actually what works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And using that image behind you, if you see the arrows there as the horizon line,
Yes.
that image goes below the earth too. That's the rootedness. Yeah. And all the beings that are in that lower part of the triangle are also being affected by everything we do. The Buddhists won't even step on an ant. Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about the glyphosate, and one of the things that's happening is they are killing all of this under here, all of this underneath that upper line. And we're killing life. We're killing those kind of things can kill life. And I think that glyphosates and the new things that the big Bayer companies brought out, they call it Liberty Link or something, which is probably worse than the glyphosates. All of those things literally are meant to kill. And to the more and more and more we get those in our systems, the more we're damaging ourselves and the life that those microbes and that life that grow our food, that live and support our whole life. So I think that one of our real places of concentration now, I mean, I'm traveling still, but when I get settled down, I'm going to get a coalition of women together and go down and ask Ace and these other hardware places to stop carrying these things and to find other alternatives. Because every time I see one of those on the shelf, it's like there's death. There's death killing all of life, and it's killing our lives because what the glyphosates do is they not only damage the little mitochondria that are the engines of all our cellular energy and life, they damage the fluid around it so that it can't heal. So it's absolutely damaging. So really, I think that one of the things that's up for us is to really step up now and to realize that what we choose with our dollars and how we choose to live our lives is really important. And we like to blame someone out there. We like to blame the farmers or blame the big industry or whatever, but they've shown that the kind of stuff we spray on our lawns probably has more impact than almost anything else. So to have a fancy lawn without those dandelions that my friends talk about being incredible medicine, those are very silly things if we are wanting to have our children and our grandchildren have a place to live on the earth.
I probably had the best lawn in Washington. It was all dandelions. I totally agree with all of that. And when in the, what was it, the 20s or 30s that they had the big dust bowl in the South, in Oklahoma and Texas and Arkansas and all those places. We're losing soil now because we've deadened it. There are scientists out there who are saying we only have a few years of soil left. If we don't have soil, if we don't have bees, if we don't have the butterflies, we have no food. They can't even synthesize it because they have to have the original nutrients to synthesize it. Yeah. I think one of the things that we can do best now is to get our hands in the earth, to have gardens, whether it's a garden in my own yard or whether it's a community garden. And I actually prefer that. Yes. Yeah. Because we're all getting together. We're doing this together. And part of what's happened with all this getting away from nature is we've also gotten away from each other. Yeah, and part of that is because we all feel isolated. But we don't have to be. We are interconnected. We can't help being interconnected if we'll recognize it. We're interconnected whether we recognize it or not. But until we recognize it, we feel alone. We feel like we can't do anything. We're powerless, etc. When we really recognize connection and do things together, we're far more powerful than we are alone.
Well, that's a wonderful thought. And we're coming close to the end of our time. And I wondered if you just have any other thoughts for folks about how we can walk forward in a good way. I sure appreciate all that you've offered.
Well, I think one of the things that I would say, because I teach this often to people, um, is to use an earth bed, to find some place where you can lay on the earth, belly down, let all the stress and tension go through your umbilical cord right into Mama Earth. She knows how to use that. It's just energy to her. She'll transmute it and give back to you the strength and joy that you need to be able to walk your life. And then get up and dance, even if it's all by yourself and nobody sees you. Just go for it for a few minutes. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that's so wonderful. Well, thank you so very much. I really appreciate what you're doing in the world and for the world. And I just wish great blessings in your life. And also, I want to hang out and dance with you one of these days.
Oh, I'd love it. Yet I've wished for years that you and I could meet somewhere on the earth and share some teachings together. So maybe we'll
Well,
get to do that. Yeah.
let's just do that. Well, thank you so very much and many blessings.
You too. Thank you.